I've just spent way too long trying to figure out why my camera wasn't working, and it's because my battery was dead. So I'm not going bankrupt today. We don't need a new camera. Everything's fine. Everything's chill. So I can chill now. Today, oh my goodness me, we are doing kind of part 2 of this little series. This is my most used eyeshadow palettes in 2025 so far. Yesterday I did my least used, and all of the palettes I spoke about yesterday were palettes I had used a grand total of 0 times since the start of the year, which is criminal. And when I have a makeup collection as big as I do, it is quite difficult to get use on palettes all the time. I have just done my inventory series where I have gone through and counted all of my eyeshadow palettes, and I came to 60 eyeshadow palettes. So it's really, really difficult to try and get use on them. But these ones today have been used and abused by me all year, and some of them are very, very predictable palettes, which I'll kind of start with so that we can get into more juicy goss. But some of them are quite interesting. So just before we do jump into the video today, guys, if you have not already, definitely like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 8,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really hope that we can do it, but we do need your help. I upload every single day here. I do bright, fun, colourful makeup. As you can see today, I'm wearing the Wilderness palette from BeautyBay, which was a neglected palette, but I took this opportunity today to use it, to give it some love, so it's not neglected anymore. But these guys, I need to stop using these guys. This is like the opposite end of the spectrum. So I'm going to start with the palette everyone is knowing this is going to come in. Like, this is not even a shock. This is my Pan That palette, and this is a mix of the That's Taupe and the Blue Moon palette. I have filmed this update quite recently, so I'm not really fussed showing you what this palette looks like at this current moment in time. You can see I've finished a shade and I've hit pan on so many other shades as well. I'm trying to come as close as I possibly can to finishing this by the end of the year. So I update this every single month. On the 1st of every month, I'll come back and I'll show you all the progress that I've made. So if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned. But today, or this month, I should say, not really today, I'm kind of working on Rock Steady, which is this shade down here. You can have a little bit of a cheeky update, why not? I've got a pretty big dip going on in this, actually. I'm quite surprised. So these two rows are That's Taupe. This is Blue Moon. I decided to put the Blue Moon shades in here because, yes, I love the That's Taupe palette. It's a really nice everyday palette. However, I'm a colourful girly at heart. I did want my blues as well. I have used this so much. You can tell. This has been used so much by me. This has been used over, I think, 200 times by me this year. This shade is in my brows every single day, so I reach for it every single day for that. And then this shade Boa I use to set my lid every single day. Every single time I do my makeup, I reach for those shades without fail. So yeah. It's been used. It has been used and abused. It kind of goes without saying with all of these kind of videos, my Pan That palette is definitely the palette that is the most used out of my whole collection. However, it is a little bit bittersweet because, like I said, yes, I'm loving this palette and I'm using it. However, there are so many eyeshadow palettes. If you watched yesterday, you will know so many eyeshadow palettes that are waiting to be used and waiting to be loved. And I do feel a little bit guilty about this, to be honest. I do feel a little bit like I should maybe pull away from this one, maybe use other palettes that haven't been used all year. But then I'm like, but I really want to finish some shades in this. I really want to hyper focus on this and get as much use as I possibly can on this, because that's so satisfying and that's the part of project panning. But that's what you've got to weigh up sometimes when you're a project panner. I love this palette still. I'm not bored, which is amazing because last year I was panning my Modern Renaissance palette and I hate panned that thing all year. I'm not hate panning this. I'm really, really loving this and I'm really excited to keep using it. Do I do the same looks all the time with this palette? Yes, but I love it. I'm still not bored of it, so I'm going to keep going. Little cheeky update, week 1 update, but no one is shocked at this, so I'm gonna move on. The second one may not be a surprise to people either. This is my BeautyBay Book of Magic palette, and this is my focus palette for my Pan Those Eyeshadows this year. And that means basically I focus on one shade to hit pan on in that project, and then I will hand choose another shade from this palette to keep going in Pan Those Eyeshadows. So the hope is that by the end of the year, I might be able to have pan on everything. I've obviously got a lot of pans in this. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shades without pan on. So I'm really going to hyper focus on trying to get pan on this palette as much as I possibly can. I was toying with the idea of maybe this being pan that palette for next year. I'm still not sure yet. We'll have that discussion at the end of the year, but I've wanted this to be pan that palette for so long, and honestly, like, it's about time. It's been like 3 years where this has nearly been pan that palette but just missed out. But I think this is gorgeous. This is my favourite palette in my collection by far. And that makes me a little bit scared to use it, to be honest, because this is discontinued. And if I finish it, then I won't have it in my collection anymore. And then what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? If I'm being real with myself, will I finish this palette in a year? Probably not. These are big shades. This is a big palette. I probably will not finish this in just 12 months. However, the reason why I do have this as a focus palette is to just try and get some more use on it, to hopefully maybe pan this next year so I can have a little bit of a head start. I mean, you can see this palette already is looking very, very loved, and that's what I love. I want my makeup to look used and to look loved, because you got to get your money out of the products that you buy, right? I just think it's gorgeous, and I still love this. I still want BeautyBay to re-release this. The shade I'm currently working on is the shade Crystal in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, and you know what? I've actually kind of enjoyed it. Oh my god, this is a shade that I really don't like, or I thought I didn't like. How the turns tables. This shade is just a little bit weird in here. I think it's just like a bit of an oddball shade. However, I've quite liked it with my Pan That palette this year. So who knows, maybe I'll have a pan in that sometime soon. These shades are quite easy to hit pan on, so I'm pretty happy about that. But this year I've also hit pan on Spell, which is this shade here. Tiny baby pan, but pan nonetheless. And then I think I also hit pan on Enchanted this year as well. So not too many shades. I'm really hoping I can pick up speed. But this year hasn't really been about project panning. It's kind of been more about just enjoying my makeup after the hell that was last year. So this is, no one is shocked, this is a most used palette of the year. Literally, if you're shocked, you must be new. Hello. I love this palette. Next is one that might be a shock. I don't talk about this palette that often, but this has definitely been a most used palette of the year. This is the Pastel Roses Crushed Diamonds quad, and it is the quad number 4. This is a quad of beautiful iridescent topper shades. So obviously I can't make a full look with this palette, but I really love just topping these shimmers over a look, and it just elevates it. We have a yellow, a blue, a pink, and a green in here. This palette has saved my life. This palette is everything that I need in a palette and more, to be honest. I love this. When I saw this release on the website, I was gagged, and then to get it in PR is just like, what's going on? You can get 20% off all the Pastel Roses with code Caitlin20. I don't earn anything with that. That is just for you guys. This palette I would recommend so much. Even with my Pan That palette, even with the Book of Magic, this palette goes so well. It goes with everything. If you have a very neutral collection, I'd recommend this because you can play with colour without it being too much. Like one of these over just a taupe would look so nice and beautiful and shimmery and reflective, and it just gives a little added something to a look. And I can't stop reaching for it. It's a little bit of an issue. I've got big dips in these. I hope you can see. It's a little bit difficult because they are such pale shades, but this is an absolute staple. A lot of indie brands release things like this for like £50. I think this is £13.99. You know, it's so inexpensive, and I just love it so much. Even if it was £50, I think I'd just be using this constantly, because I can't stop. It gives like an ethereal, beautiful, shimmery beautifulness to the look, even if you just want to use them as inner corner highlights. Stunning and beautiful and gorgeous. So those three I feel like are like, yeah, everyone kind of knew. Everyone knows that I love those palettes. Everyone knows that those are palettes that I reach for all the time. However, let's talk about 3 that maybe aren't as widely known and ones that I have just been reaching for in days where I just want to play around with eyeshadow. So the first palette, or the first in this section, I should say, is the Vivette palette from Adept Cosmetics. I've been reaching for this so much, and I was not prepared for it. I was not prepared to be reaching for this so many times, but it's one of those palettes that's almost like addictive. I just keep having to reach for it. When I first saw this palette, I was like, that is a lot. That's a colour story that's quite a lot. That's quite an intimidating colour story, and it is. But once you start diving into it, it kind of becomes less scary and less daunting, and it kind of becomes more fun. And this has really pushed my creativity out of its comfort zone 1 bazillion%, and I love it for that. I love my comfort zone. My comfort zone is very That's Taupe Blue Moon. This is not my comfort zone, and you know what? I love that sometimes. I love to look at a palette and go, what the hell am I going to do with this? And then just come up with like a weird, wacky look that I probably would never, ever, ever have reached for on its own. This colour story is unlike anything I've ever seen before. Crazy, but in a really good way. I did a look with these 2 like greeny shades, and then this beautiful green shimmer. The quality of this is insanity. I did like a 2-tone look with this bright coral and this blue. This black is insanely good. The shimmers are just crazy. This shade and this shade, so the shade Belle Marron and Itzwa, are 2 kind of browny nude shades. These go with my Pan That palette so well, especially this one. Can you see the shine on that? Can you see that? That is insane. I've been using that with my Pan That palette so much, just that shade, just all over the lid with a really, really basic neutral in the crease, and it's been lovely. It's been the love of my life. I've been really loving this shade Ink as a liner every now and then. Just some really good shades. This shade's Vivette goes really well with the blues in my Pan That palette. It's just been a palette that I can't stop reaching for. It's not been in any kind of project, which is how you know I truly love a palette. Yes, the That's Taupe and the Book of Magic have been used a lot, but they are focus palettes in projects. These 3, this one and the 2 others that I'm about to talk about, have not been in project pans. And that's how you know. I love these palettes, truly. I'm not forcing myself to use them. I'm not gritting my teeth and bearing it. I'm truly, truly loving these palettes, and I've just used this a hell of a lot this year. And I'm so, so grateful for Adept for sending me this in PR as well. It's heavy. That's the first thing I noticed about it. It's so, I could knock someone out with this, and I love that. I'm like doing weights, but doing my makeup. Next, we have another Pastel Roses palette. And you know what? This is the opposite of the other Pastel Roses palette. When this first released on the website, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm ever going to use that. But then I got it, and my world changed. This is the Sweet Harmony from the Pastel Roses, and this is a full shimmer eyeshadow palette. I have always said I don't like all shimmer eyeshadow palettes because you can't build depth. I love my mattes. I love building a look with mattes and then adding a shimmer as a pop. However, this is the perfect palette when you just do a taupe all over the crease, for example with That's Taupe, and just want something to play on the lid. This and this, again, have gone so well together. Just a really basic neutral all over the crease, maybe deepen it up with a deep brown, and then pop one of these super fun, colourful eyeshadows all over the lid and just like play, just have a grand old time. I love these. My favourite shade is Velvet, which is like a taupey purple, but very, very closely second to like Cosmic Aura, Opalite, these like really pale shades I absolutely love. Celestial, which is obviously the blue, has a pretty big dip in it. I told myself I wouldn't swatch in this video, but Oh well. So they are the shades. They're really, really stunning, really, really beautiful for either an inner corner or a lid pop. That is what I think is so stunning. If you have palettes, kind of like there was a Natasha Denona palette that came out recently that was all mattes. If you have palettes like that, this is the perfect match for those kind of palettes, just because you can do that basic crease and then just have fun. Just do whatever you want. It's a really, really good way to introduce yourself to color. A lot of people ask me, like, I really want to play with color, but I'm just such a neutral girl. I don't know where to start. If you do a basic crease and then just a colourful shimmer all over the eye, you will never go wrong. It just looks beautiful every single time. And I think this is where this eyeshadow palette truly, truly shines, because it is something really, really special. And you know what? I'm very sorry. You know, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm very sorry for judging you at first, but now I don't judge it. Now I really, really do enjoy it, and it is a palette that I will treasure for a very, very long time, I think. So another staple palette, if you're like me and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'll use that. It's an all shimmer palette, like, oh, trust me. I thought the same, and now here I am, a changed woman. Okay, we have one more palette left to talk about, and this again was a palette I was not expecting to talk about in this video, but when I really sat down and thought about it, it deserves to be here. This is the Odin's Eye x Morgan Turner Love Language eyeshadow palette, and yeah, shocker, this is one of my most used eyeshadow palettes this year so far. It goes really well with that taupe. Oh my god, are we shocked? No, just adding this little bit of like purpley pops in there, I think is genius. I don't see many cool tone purples on the market, so when cool tone purples come out, I am absolutely all over it like a rash. I'm so excited to keep using this and to keep mixing this palette with other palettes. I think that's what this year has been for me, mixing palettes with other palettes. Last year, as I said, I was panning the Anastasia Modern Renaissance. That was kind of like a palette on its own. You couldn't really mix and match it. With that taupe, I think because it's so neutral, you can just use anything with it and it will still look really, really nice. I think that's something that I'm going to take into my future project panning years, having those basic neutrals to be able to incorporate these kind of shades with. I'm not a big fan of these pinks. Like, I'm not, yeah, let's cover that up. This palette is beautiful to me. These neutrals haven't really been played with that much, but these purples down here are so pretty. They provide a perfect pop of colour when I want to, again, add a little bit of a pop with a neutral look. That's kind of what I've been doing this year a lot, and I've really been enjoying it. Really basic looks that don't take too much brain power, that don't take too much time and effort. Very quick, but really, really effective looks. And this provides that. It is such a beautiful palette. I might challenge myself to use these pinks every now and then, but I mean, it's not really about forcing myself to use things. I'm just really happy with the bottom of this palette. Even just a taupe look with just this like matte periwinkle on the inner corner and maybe like this gold, like just so stunning. Really, really pretty palette, and I have been using this so much this year, and I will probably use it a hell of a lot in the coming 6 months as well. So yeah, what do you think? Were any of these a big shock for you? I know my Pan That palette and the Book of Magic was not a shock whatsoever. I'm aware, I know, but let me know, what is your most used palette this year? And was it a shock to you? Some of these were even a shock to me, I have to admit. So to come here and share them with you guys has definitely been really, really exciting. But this is it. This is where I'm gonna love you and leave you today, guys. I hope you have an absolutely incredible day, and I will see you tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye bye.